Hello and greetings, book lovers everywhere, and welcome to E-Train Talks. I'm your host, E-Train. I'm a 13-year-old literacy advocate, podcast host, and book lover, and I'm also the founder of E-Train Talks Inc., a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to inspiring a love of reading and giving books to kids in need. And it's the holiday season, and whoop-de-doo and shibbity-dop, and don't forget to put up your sock. And I am beyond thrilled to introduce you to a new, diverse book that celebrates not just one, but two special holidays. It is a very special dual Hanukkah and Christmas story. Ever heard of that? And get this, it is a multiple point of view tale that pays homage to the fabulous, fabulous movie, The Parent Trap. And funnily enough, when I wrote this introduction, I actually wrote Home Alone because I had the holidays on my mind. And I was like, my mom read it and she was like, what are you talking about, Ethan? So as my hat falls, I think you all know where this is going because this festive story is called Let It Glow. And let's just say that there are shenanigans in store when it comes to this book. His festive story is phenomenal. Two protagonists separated from birth who may or may not be identical twins. And there are so many lovable traits to this story. I fell in love with it from the first page. The plot is so entertaining, and it's perfect for readers to get into that holiday spirit. So grab some eggnog, grab some hot chocolate, whatever your favorite holiday treat is, because I have a treat for all of you. That's right, double treat time. Who doesn't love that? My cat's here as well, and he's already getting excited when I said treat. So I am here with the award-winning writers, Marissa Meyer and Joanne Levy. They are the two talented co-writers of Let It Glow, and they've joined me today to help spread some holiday cheer and spread the word about their new middle grade novel. So, Marissa, Joanne, welcome to E-Train Talks. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having
thank you so much for having us.
Of
What
course.
a great intro.
That was one of my favorite introductions of all time.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so happy that you could both join me. I'm just so excited. I've been excited. And, you know, a little bit about the writers. We have Joanne Levy, who I've actually had the chance to interview before. And she is the award-winning author of Sorry for Your Loss, Fish Out of Water, and The Sun Will Come Out, as well as many other books. And if I had to list them all, that'd probably take a couple minutes. So it seems like forever ago since we last talked. And now we're introducing a new, well, not really a new author. She's been in the business for a while, but new to E-Train Talks. It is Marissa Meyer. She's the New York Times bestselling author of futuristic young adult fantasy fairy tales like the Lunar Chronicles, which I recently started reading. And I gotta say, wow, I've never read anything like that. And I mean, this is the last interview of the year for me, last interview of 2024. And it's been a year full of gratitude, a year full of joy, a year full of book joy. And I'm so thrilled that we could close it out with two fantastic writers, two writers who have written a story that is very close to my heart. So let's do it. Let's get right into the questions.
Right. Thank you. And I'm honored that we're your last of the year. I actually think this might be our last interview of the year too.
Oh, wow.
I think it is. So what a great way to finish out the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Happy holidays, everyone. And can I just say that I think it's epic that you just happen to have your own Hanukkah hat.
Yes.
Well, my mom tries to make me wear this all the time. She also tries to put it on my cat, and he does not get very happy. But, you know, Mom, I'm actually doing it. And, yep.
We love it. We love it.
We're so coordinated. I definitely had planned to wear this. Absolutely. So I have to ask, first off, because I'm sure everybody is curious to know, when and how did you two meet? And after you two discovered each other, did you know right away you wanted to craft a story together? Or did it take time before you two joined forces?
So it's a great loaded question with lots of answers. So we first met, so going way, way back. So our first books actually debuted the same year in 2012. But we didn't really know each other then. We were both in sort of a marketing group called the Apocalypses. So we sort of crossed paths virtually, but it wasn't till a couple years later that Marissa actually reached out to me because my day job, as it is I am a virtual assistant to other authors. So that means I spend a good chunk of my days doing administrative support for other authors from home. So that's fan mail and graphic design and anything to do with the behind the scenes of being an author. So Marissa had gotten really busy and very successful and reached out to me and said, I think I need help with my behind the scenes stuff. So we've been working together in that capacity since 2016. So we hadn't even discussed ever working together or writing anything together for quite some time. And then I actually was talking to my literary agent one day, and she had said, why don't you write a holiday story? People are telling me, editors are saying that they're looking for holiday stories. So she and I actually brainstormed an idea about twins separated at birth, because we wanted to have Hanukkah, of course, because I'm Jewish, and also Christmas, to sort of have it be an all-encompassing holiday book. So we brainstormed that, and I fully intended to write this book on my own. And I got about 4 chapters in, and I realized I don't really know what makes people love Christmas. I've celebrated Hanukkah all my life. I can find the joy in Hanukkah, but you see movies on TV and commercials and everything, and you think Christmas is sort of ubiquitous, but when it comes down to getting behind a character who really just loves the season, I was lost. I just really didn't know. So I thought, okay, I can't write this book on my own. It's not my lived experience. So I thought, who could I approach to write it with me? And I came up with exactly one name. And so the girls are both in the book are both adopted, and Marissa has adopted twin girls, and she loves Christmas, and she wanted to get into middle grade. So who better to write the book with? So of course she was my one and only choice to approach about writing Let It Glow together.
And that is an amazing story. I love it. I love that. And now here it is. We have Let It Glow in existence. It is here for everybody to read, everybody to dive in. And I'm so glad that, after all the circumstances that you guys had went through, all the times you'd spent together, maybe not related to actually writing a book together, eventually that idea popped in, and then voila. So
it's funny. I love that you worded it that way. All the time we spent together, because even though Joanne and I have known each other and worked together now for 8 years, we had never met in person until the very first day of our book tour here about a month ago. And it was so magical to meet in the hotel and get to go and sign books and be in the same space for once, when, we kind of feel like we already know each other so well.
That's so sweet. I love it. So my next question for both of you is, writing dual point of view stories can be a challenge, and authors have found a lot of ways to go about writing these kind of books behind the scenes. So as the amazing author duo that you two are, I'm sure you both have an answer to this question. So when writing 2 points of view, did each of you write one character's point of view, or did you take turns each chapter, or did you have a different method? So Joanne answered that question. So Marissa, why don't you try this one?
I would be glad to. Yes. So in this book, we have the twins, Aviva, whose family celebrates Hanukkah, and Holly, whose family celebrates Christmas. And so we knew immediately that Joanne was going to take Aviva's character and I was going to write Holly. And so, kind of as one would expect, this is done. Joanne would write a chapter. We had a shared Google Doc, so she would paste her chapter in. I would read it and comment and edit. And then I would go away and write Holly's chapter, and we just kind of swapped back and forth. And that worked really well up until the twins swap houses. In this book, after they've met each other and discovered I have this secret twin, they decided they're going to swap homes for the holidays. And we got to that point in the story, and we both went away. And Joanne was writing this scene in which Aviva is going hunting for her very first Christmas tree at the Christmas tree farm. And I was writing a scene in which Holly is having this wonderful, grandiose Hanukkah feast for the first time. And there's candles to light and blessings to be said. And we both tried to write these chapters and then simultaneously emailed each other and were like, I don't know how to write this chapter. I have absolutely no idea what they are supposed to be doing here. And so we quickly decided that it would be best to switch characters at that point. And I took over writing for Aviva, and Joanne took over writing for Holly. And it worked out actually extremely well because, of course, we had the background inside knowledge of how we celebrate these different holidays. But by that point in the story, we both knew the characters really well and had a really clear idea and sense of what their personality was like and what they cared about. So it seemed at first like it might be intimidating switching characters, but it actually ended up working out and going really smoothly.
Yeah, and I think what's really special about switching characters like Aviva and Holly is that along the way, while the characters are learning about the holiday, it kind of seems like both of you as writers were also sort of learning about Hanukkah and Christmas. So
Very
it's like
much
you're
so.
right
I
along
learned
with them in that
so much about Hanukkah.
journey. You're right along with them in that journey, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So my next question is, what's extra special about this story is that it celebrates two holidays, two sisters raised by two different families, and they're a part of two different holidays and faiths. That's a lot of two. So they celebrate Hanukkah and Christmas. They're Jewish and Christian. And it seems like the perfect way to celebrate and promote peace at a time in our world when, the world needs it most. So how did you come up with the idea of writing Let It Glow? And was your vision pretty clear from start to finish, or did your storyline do some transforming and changing along the way? And now we can flip back over to Joanne to answer this question.
Sure. So as I mentioned, I came up with the basic idea, brainstorming with my agent, which is not the most exciting way to get an idea. But as far as how the story went, so I wrote a rough outline, and especially when I knew I was going to bring somebody on board, I figured I'm going to have an outline, especially to show Marissa what kind of story this was going to be. So once she said yes, she was on board. We actually worked together on the outline, changed it a little. She took Holly's character and made Holly her own. And we changed a few things. I don't think we wrote the end of the outline. We sort of got as far as we needed to really get started, and then we started writing. As far as was it what we imagined? I think so. I think so. It stayed pretty close to what we had in the outline, wouldn't you say, Marissa?
I would. I think kind of our goal. I mean, we had a number of goals for the book. We wanted it to be fun and funny and charming, and I think we both went into it very much wanting to write a book that was filled with joy, that celebrated not only these holidays and the cultural differences between these girls, but we wanted a sister story and showing how close they become. We wanted shenanigans and hilarity and all of these. We wanted really close relationships with grandparents and had a great time getting to explore that. And I really think that it stayed actually extremely close to what we wanted. I know, I'm trying to think. So between like writing the first draft and then going into revisions and then ultimately working with our editor, the only like major-ish changes I can think of is that we did end up like deepening some of the storylines with the grandparents, with the adoption angle, and just kind of exploring the emotions there a little bit more, that maybe had been lightly touched on in the first draft, but we really wanted to bring those to the surface. Otherwise, I think it stayed incredibly true to what we originally set out to write.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And sometimes there are big shifts with stories, other times they may stay similar. And whatever the journey is for a book, it always turns out beautiful. And just like Let It Glow. So,
Thank you.
switching gears for a moment, Marissa, this question is specifically for you because Joanne Levy, you've been in the business for a while when it comes to middle grade. And this, however, is Marissa Meyer, everybody. This is Marissa Meyer's first experience in the middle grade world. And I know we're all big middle grade book fans. So seeing you traverse into this new genre, this new area, this new age group, it's really exciting. So Let It Glow is your first middle grade book, your first adventure into the realm of mid-grade stories. So can you share what this writing journey was like and how it compared to writing YA?
Sure. Yeah. So, like Joanne mentioned, I had been wanting to write middle grade for a while, largely because I have twin daughters and they are now 10 years old. And so we've been reading middle grade as a family for a number of years now. And I love the stories. I love the enchantment. I love the voice, the comedy. There are, of course, similarities to writing YA, but it is a different genre just in the scope and in some of the things that kids are more interested in at that age. And so it was something that had been in my head for a couple of years, and I had toyed around with a series that then never really came to fruition. And so when Joanne approached me, I immediately loved the concept and was really excited to work on it. And I think that maybe there was a moment where I was intimidated to be switching into middle grade. Of course, as a writer, we always have like doubts and fears and like, what if I'm no good at this? Blah, blah, blah. But when we actually started writing, it, I don't know, it came pretty naturally. And I credit working with Joanne a lot because she had already started writing some of Aviva's chapters. So I think that I was able to read what she was doing, and that kind of cemented the voice and the style of the book right off the bat. And so I was able to just kind of play off of that. And I loved knowing that in this book, I could get a little silly. And I didn't have to, explore the angst and the emotions always that you are always kind of trying to dig into with young adult. So I love writing both genres and for both age groups, but this one was fun in that I could be a little bit more relaxed and show maybe a little bit more of my goofy side.
I love it. And I think you did an amazing job. I mean, this is your first experience in an entirely new age group. And, like you talk about humor, I laughed a lot during Let It Glow. And, it's rare that I actually find myself, it's rare that I find myself laughing out loud during a book. And I think there were just so many aspects that really made me giggle, that made me I just love Let It Glow. And it was such a fun book because I feel like there are a lot of middle grade books nowadays that they're really important. They talk about a lot of deep emotional topics, emotional discussions. And while there are definitely some deep topics discussed in Let It Glow, there's also room for fun, room for excitement, room for the holiday spirit to sort of find its way into our hearts. So my next question is, we talked a little bit about the logistics behind collaboration on a novel, but let's back up for a second. So I'm really interested in learning if either of you had previously co-written any stories before. And if so, how did this experience differ from others? And what do you think you learned or enjoyed most from writing Let It Glow with each other? And I think this is sort of like a multiple person question, so either of you can jump in, maybe like rock, paper, scissors or something.
Well, I'll start. And I did write a project with somebody, but it never got published. And it was a while back, so I don't even really remember the process, although I don't think it was in a Google Doc. But I can definitely speak to the best part of this process and with Marissa was how much fun we had. It was just joy from beginning to end. The book came very easily to the two of us. There's so much trust between us that there were no squabbles. We were on board with each other, and it was just pure fun. Absolute fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I only co-wrote a project way back when I was late teens, early 20s. And it was a fan fiction because I used to write Sailor Moon fan fiction. And so I co-wrote a project way, way, way back when, but that was the one and only time. So nothing published. And yeah, I mean, I think as far as like what I learned from writing in this process with Joanne, I think that, like Joanne said, having trust in each other and choosing a co-writer whose work you enjoy, whose style you enjoy. There was certainly something to be said with, what would you say, like accountability, knowing that there's someone on the other end waiting for your chapter, like was very motivating and very encouraging. And I really loved that we could put our work in the document and get almost instant feedback. So it was almost like, even though we had a plan for the story, we could also kind of make subtle changes as we went. And I don't know, it was very much like discovering it together as we went. And
Love that.
I don't know that it was like, I don't know. I'm trying to think like, what did we learn? I just remember it being so much fun. I just remember like laughing every day as we were doing it together.
Yeah,
I love that. And laughter is the best medicine. Laughter is also what brings out the best in middle grade stories. And if the authors themselves are laughing, then I mean the reader is probably going to be laughing even more.
Yeah. It became like a goal for us because in your Google Docs, you can leave comments for each other. And it was like at some point I was like, I don't even care what the story is. I just want to see that LOL from Joanne. That's what I'm looking for.
I love that. I love that so much. And while Let It Glow does pay homage to the Parent Trap, other than the fact that twin sisters stumble upon each other after being separated as babies, which is actually a big part of the story, and most everything else in the story is quite unique compared to the Parent Trap. And especially the fact that your protagonists, Aviva and Holly, are not raised by their birth parents. Instead, they're each adopted separately and raised by different families. Will you share why you chose adoption as a central theme in your story? And can you share what you hope your middle grade readers will learn and take away from Let It Glow?
So I'm going to put this out there right away that I have never seen The Parent Trap. Still to this day, I have not seen The Parent Trap, even though so many people are describing this as The Parent Trap meets a Hallmark holiday movie. So
we can still be friends, Joanne. We can still be friends.
We were supposed to watch it together on tour, and then just didn't find a time for it.
It didn't happen. And then I tried to watch it on the plane home from tour, and my earphones wouldn't work. So I have tried, but I haven't seen it. So we'll call it one of those coincidences that there are no news stories out there, just new ways of writing them. So anyway, so adoption for me is important because I am adopted. So that's always front of mind. But yeah, it just sort of worked with the story that two twins separated at birth. How could it work for the story that they lived in separate homes, celebrating separate holidays? So that was always going to be a big part of it. And yeah, made Marissa the obvious choice to write it with me. So, and as far as what we hope people learn about adoption or take with them, just that it's normalized, that, being adopted or having adopted kids it's just a way you make a family. It's not how you are a family, if that even makes sense. I've never felt anything other than my parents' daughter, and I have 3 older brothers who were their biological kids, and they're my brothers, and that's just how it is. So, I mean, if anybody hasn't met an adopted person, I hope that they take from this story that they're just like everybody else. They just make a family. How its origins begin are a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would add to that, like, if someone feels like they have not met an adopted person, they have. It just didn't come up in conversation. I've been really surprised, actually, because it's not something that you just like, hello, I'm Joanne, I'm adopted. It just doesn't come up every time. But having adopted my own kids, and so it comes up once in a while in conversation, and I'm very often surprised at how often people, oh, I'm adopted, or my brother is adopted, or, we adopted our kid. I mean, it just is so much more common than I thought that it was. Yeah. And it's similar to Joanne saying that she just feels like she's part of the family. Like, my kids just are my kids. They're not my adopted kids. They're just my children. And you love them every bit as if they'd come out of you.
I love that. And I think that I love the topic of normalization because, there's so many kids and so many people that are adopted. And I mean, they're just people. Like, I mean, there's nothing to it. And I think that normalizing the idea of, people being adopted, and just like being like, these are people, they exist. And like, we're all friends. We're all friends. We're all together in this big fight that we call life. This, not fight, but, journey.
There's so many ways to make up a family: adopted kids, natural kids, foster kids, step families. I mean, there's no such thing as a normal family anymore. Families come in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
It's also a personal question just from me. Like, what's the difference between fostering a kid and adopting a kid? Are they similar or?
So I can happy to answer that because my kids were fostered to adopt. So kind of technically both. In fostering, you are taking care of a child, maybe with the intention and hope of adoption, but not necessarily. There are lots of kids who have to be removed from their biological homes for a gazillion different reasons. And generally speaking, if there is a hope that they can be returned to their biological family, if their parents can work through whatever it is they need to work through, then the goal is often to have them eventually returned. But in the meantime, they need a safe, healthy, stable home. So that's fostering. And then with adoption, you get to legally become their parents. You get a new birth certificate. They can never be taken away once you've adopted them. It's just as if you had birthed them yourself.
Thank you so much. And, I've always been curious about that. So thank you for the answer. So This is the holiday season, and it is time. Christmas songs, Hanukkah songs, holiday songs, well, mainly Christmas songs. There aren't a ton of Hanukkah songs, unfortunately, but they're coming on the radio. You can't escape it. And my question for all of you is, this is a question that I love asking authors, but I mean, I've said it like probably 20 times, but it is the holiday season. So specifically a holiday answer is what I'm looking for. If you could choose one holiday song that best represents your book, Let It Glow, and each of you can answer this, what song would it be? And most importantly, why do you choose it?
So I've got one locked and loaded. So we actually did a playlist for Let It Glow, which is on Spotify, and we have it linked on our link tree, so we can find it later and send it to you. So we have some Hanukkah songs and some Christmas songs, but the one that I really love that is just so perfect for a part in the book is Taylor Swift's Christmas Tree Farm. And it's such a great song. I just got chills just even thinking of it. And I'm not a huge Swiftie. This song is so perfect, and it's perfect for that scene. And when Hollywood comes knocking and they actually do that scene, I hope that they play that song in the background, because it's perfect and it's a fun song. So that's my choice.
No, that has to be my choice too. So I'm just going to piggyback on that because my girls had not heard that song, weirdly enough, until just here maybe like a week ago. And so I played it for them, and we watched the video for the first time, and I had not seen the music video, but it's all like actual footage from Taylor Swift's holidays growing up. It's so darling, and it made me just love it even more.
We have to get her to write a Hanukkah song.
In my heart is a Hanukkah bush farm.
We can work with that.
Yeah. A menorah making factory.
Yes.
So the next question for you guys is, I love learning about different holiday customs. And so I'm curious, each of you, what your favorite holiday tradition is, whether it's your favorite food, a favorite celebratory practice, just what is your favorite holiday tradition?
This changes every time we get asked. Joanne's like, you have to pick one, Marissa. You can't have 30. But I do have 30. Okay, so today I'm going to say that my favorite Christmas tradition is my annual cookie baking party. And I say that because it's coming up right around the corner. And I've been doing it for years and years. And I invite all of the ladies from my family, my mom, my aunts, my daughters, of course, and my stepmother. And we all get together, and everyone brings a recipe, and we spend the day cooking and eating food and drinking wine. And at the end, we divide up all of the cookies that we've made, and everyone gets to go home with a really great assortment of cookies. And it's just a really nice way to spend a day.
I love it.
That sounds like so much fun. Yeah.
You can come, Joanne. You're invited.
If I was closer, I would. I promise I would. Maybe for the eating part. But anyway, no, it sounds fun.
You'll have to make jelly donuts.
Yes. Oh, those sound like a pain to make. I don't know if
they sound awfully difficult.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's the sort of thing that you buy from the baker.
Yes, for sure. Now, as far as my favorite family tradition around Hanukkah, well, I normally say the food and getting together with family, but you know what? I've been thinking about it, and I have a favorite Christmas tradition, and it's going out on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day with the family for Chinese food and movies.
Love it.
It sounds so cliche. It really, really does. But we always did it when I was a kid. That's exactly what we did on Christmas Eve. We went out for Chinese food, and we would always look around the restaurant and be like, oh, there are the Kaplans. Oh, there are the Katzes, and you're reconnecting with the Jewish community because that's who's out eating Chinese food. And then you go to a movie and it's not busy. And yeah, it's just, the world is kind of quiet, and, it's just sort of a fun thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like COVID without the COVID.
Yes, that's right.
I think, I love the holidays, and I think a favorite tradition of mine is either my mom playing like Christmas songs on Alexa for 24/7, which is part, I love it, and part annoying. But also she makes these delicious Hanukkah dreidels, not like actual dreidels, because if you ate a dreidel, they're made of wood a lot, so that would be kind of unhealthy. But so So what she does, you have a pretzel stick, then you stick a marshmallow on it and put a Hershey Kiss on top of the marshmallow, and then you decorate the marshmallow with frosting. And so and you put all the Hebrew letters with the dreidel, like from the dreidel. And so it's like eating a dreidel that you can't spin, but I love it so much. It tastes so good. Like,
I love that.
I could send them in the mail, but they might get punched. So that's my favorite. I also love seeing family. Can't forget about my family. And just the holidays, it's a time of joy. Even when the sky is cloudy, there's so much joy. Just it's palpable. You can just feel the love, feel the spirit in the air. Whatever holiday you celebrate, whether it's Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Christmas, or I just think the holidays, it's a time of peace of mind, a time for a new beginnings, and time for reading because it's winter break. There's so much time to read.
The important part, time for reading.
And so I'm sad because we're now at the final question of the interview, but I'm also excited to hear your answers. This is a question that I've asked every author I've interviewed. I might have actually asked Joanne this question, so maybe her answers change, maybe it's the same. And I probably can't remember. Maybe she doesn't remember and she might say the same thing. Anyway, if you could be or if you could meet any literary character, whether it's your favorite author or your favorite character in a book, who would it be and why?
This is so hard.
This is a hard one.
It's so hard. I think I'm going to give you two answers. One for an author, and it would have to be Judy Blume. And I did meet her at a signing, but it wasn't like I got to sit down and have tea with her and pick her brain.
Right.
But she was such an influence on me when I was a tween, and I adore her and her bravery and how she stands up to book banning, and she's just somebody I think I would really like to be friends with. And as far as a character from a book, I think I'd love to be friends with Anne of Green Gables. I mean, it's such a Canadian thing to say, and adopted and redhead, but I think we could get into a lot of mischief together. We could have some real fun. Yeah.
That was a fantastic answer.
That was a good answer. I think I would have to say Jane Austen. Because she's written a lot of my favorite books. And I am just fascinated. We don't know a ton about her. And I would just be fascinated to meet this woman who 200 years ago was writing books that still are so relatable today. And she was so witty and so clever and such a forward thinker. And I am just fascinated by how that happens coming out of the Regency era of all times. So yeah, I think I would just love to have a conversation with her.
Jane Austen and Judy Blume, they would be, just imagine like a dinner, like all of us there with Jane Austen and Judy Blume, and then Anne of Green Gables comes in and joins us. Imagine the conversations we'd have. Imagine the mischief we'd get into. Imagine the just forward thinking. Imagine just the conversations we would have. That'd be so much fun. Also, Jane Austen would be pretty old, but if we could maybe time travel back to when
zombie Jane Austen.
She'd be like, oh, Pride and Prejudice, brains. I don't think she'd really need to eat a brain because she already has a brilliant one. Mm-hmm. And I think being zombified would still just make it like an average person's brain.
Yeah. It's a long time ago. I feel like I heard about a book once in which Jane Austen was a vampire.
I'm going to look that up because I've heard that too. Jane Austen vampire. She wrote a book called Pride and Prejudice's Vampires. So there's also a vampire.
Maybe that's what I was thinking. I'm not sure.
There's also Mr. Darcy Vampire by some other people.
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies?
Maybe. It was a vampire adaptation for Pride and Prejudice. That could be what you're thinking of.
That might be what I'm thinking.
Also, there's some very creepy images online that I'm not going to look at any further of zombies and Pride and Prejudice. So, on that lovely note...
Happy holidays!
Happy holidays, everybody. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. Thank you so much, Joanne and Marissa, for taking time out of your Sunday to talk with me. And I'm so thrilled that everybody is going to dive into Let It Glow. It's not an if, it's a when, because all of you are going to read this book. You must. And you will be so very delighted and so very just feel warm. It's a cozy book. It's a book that you're going to laugh to, a book that you'll cry tears of joy, but also sadness when it ends. Then you read it again and again and again. So thank you all so much for being here, and I mean, I'm just so grateful that you could take time out of your day.
Oh, we're grateful to be interviewed. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I hope you had a fantastic book tour. I hope you have a fantastic holidays and the rest of your year, rest of all of your years. And keep on writing, keep being you. And everybody watching, check out Let It Glow. Buy it at an indie bookstore, maybe. Buy it wherever books are sold. It's there. It is there. That's not even a question. It will be there. And hopefully soon it will be transferred from that wherever you find it to your beautiful bookshelves. And I'm so grateful that you could all join me today, whether you're watching, whether you're listening, or whether you're Joanne and Marissa, because I'm thankful for you too. So
well, thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy every holiday, because I might forget some. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you.